Ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ bá jó, ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ bá jó, olúwa mi ò dìde ojú ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀.
Welcome everyone to Theoryforge Chronicles. I am, of course, Phantom X, sincerely apologizing for all of these technical things that have just sort of come up. 20 episodes. This is episode 20. And that has never happened before. But anyways, I am, of course, joined by Diggs and legendary Neurotoxin. I'm going to just let you guys get into this because now I have caused us to be 30 minutes late. So y'all start talking. I'm going to try to figure out what's going on.
All right.
At least we're live.
Thank you for being patient with everything because, that it sounded like everything was going catastrophically wrong for you there for, the better part of 30 minutes. So I'm glad you're able to get everything up and running, and welcome everybody. Thank you all for hanging out and staying. And if you saw somebody that joined and then left, go bug them and say, hey, come back. It's time. So it is time. Master of Your Domain is the name of this episode. We are talking about domain and settlement selection. I am really excited with the amount of information that we've been provided with this, and I'm, all of this saying like how much this one needs to knock things out of the park. I think all of that's been heard, and I think this is really going to be the one that's going to be like, yeah, this is the event that everybody's excited about, and it's delivered well, and gets everything revving up. So that's going to be kind of exciting. There's some stuff that was really clarified and spelled out in good detail with the two posts, both the domain settlement selection details post, and then there was the actual news post that was kind of talking about that as well, and gives more information about the timing of things. And honestly, between those two and the the other one about the actual kind of detail and the look of the map and stuff, we actually kind of have a pretty decent amount of information, a little more information than I was actually expecting up to this point, relative to how all this is going to go and kind of how it's going to feel. So I'm excited about that. I'm looking forward. I don't have any title. I'm not going to be claiming land. I don't want to claim land. I don't want to have that responsibility. I'm barely even going to have a home that I visit. But I'm really excited for the folks that are going to be having titles and land and organizing around all of that stuff, that they'll be able to have all of that stuff. Diggs.
But you're going to be in Ashland, right?
That's where my residence is going to be, and that's where I'm going to probably be hanging out initially. But
yeah,
I do plan to get around at least once a year, making it around somewhere else, and we'll see. One real life year, not one in-game year. I have no idea how far I'm actually going to range in-game until I actually get in there and see how difficult it is.
And you plan to do that without I want to say with one character, but one character might not last that long. But I mean, the plan is to do that without an alt.
Correct. I will probably have side alts that I've got parked in Ashland. They'll just poke here and there. Maybe if I want to play some of the, I say play the crafting mini game, but it's realistically actually bang out things and test the different mechanics and all the various different stuff, because I'm interested in seeing all of that stuff too. But having that as kind of a side gig that's mostly on autopilot, and my main thing being going around and learning about the different areas and gathering data and history and making maps and sharing timelines and data with everybody when we have the big old meetup. But that's something I'm going to be probably writing about and putting more input into and details into in the next few months. This is kind of stemming off some of the stuff that I talked about, maybe, gosh, probably at least 10 or more episodes ago, about kind of the initial plans for how I plan to play the character as more of a traveling historian rather than a somebody that just landed in one place. But that's me. Let's what are your initial thoughts on domain and settlement stuff? Like, you've gotten a chance to read all of this.
Yeah, so I am the outlier of the group who I'm not even sure the game is going to be fun. And I don't understand why it's supposed to be fun, and it seems like it's going to be more tedious than fun. But this and even the previous events have not been, too inspirational for me. It hasn't got it hasn't made me eager to play or made me understand why I should be eager to play. But this event sounds like it could be a lot of fun. So this one I'm expecting to enjoy. Just even watching the map fill out, and that might be because I'm an explorer first. So I think on the Bartle scale, I'm like 80% or 87% explorer, something like that. 0% killer on that scale. So it may just be I understand map filling out, and that'll give me some ideas of where I might like to go and who I might like to visit. And I would expect to be exploring too. But also, as we see resources and professions, that also might help. I got, during the Searing Plague, I got a physician's kit, or I think kit isn't the right ending for that, but whatever.
Yeah.
But whatever that package, that little package of abilities or tools and stuff like that. So I could see starting in Ashland and but going around to see where other physicians might be and seeing what I can learn. That would probably give me a clearer idea of how I'd want to play, where I'd want to go, what I'd want to do, some motivations for doing some stuff. So I'm thinking, just based on what I've read here, that this might start to fill out, help me see where the fun will be for me. Because I'm not really interested in the political intrigue necessarily.
Is it that you're not interested in, or you're not interested in participating, but you'll stand by and kind of laugh from a distance?
Usually I don't care about the politics and that kind of intrigue. So just going from an outsider view with nothing else to go on, I don't have anything to latch on to. That might change once we actually are in the game and vying for resources, and it might change as there's stuff like laws, and I've been trying to understand how royalty will be enacting laws, but everybody that we've talked to just says, "Oh, yeah, we're just going to work with everybody," and that doesn't tell me anything. But if some medicines or resources for medicines are outlawed in a particular area, or maybe physicians are actually even outlawed in some area. It could be even that people who carry disease are outlawed in some areas. Who knows? That if that kind of stuff starts happening, that would give me something to latch on to. But I haven't encountered any of that yet. So, but yeah. So what I've been reading about this one has me eager to, even just sitting and, again, like I said, watching the map fill out sounds like that could be a lot of fun. Yeah. So I read some of the Gashkia article. Can we link that? I don't even know if I can link that. Let me see if I can link
Yeah,
that
you
in
should be able to link that.
chat real quick. Hold on a second. I have to find it again. Oh, okay.
Here, I got it. Oh, you got it.
Yeah, I got it. Hold on one second. Um, and I did like the speculation about intrigue in that one regarding. So I guess, and it makes me want to try to play on Luna actually, because the author was saying that they think that, or from what they've learned, Luna is going to try to be a cooperative server. And from what they can tell so far, there's not going to be a lot of kingdom conflict. They're going to try to work. They're going to try to work together to build up the areas, which could be fun. So it makes me want to think about trying to get involved on there somehow.
I'm just going to go back to that thing that I've been saying, that people try to make plans and all sorts of things and seal deals and all that stuff before a game goes live. And the moment it goes live, it all just goes to shit. So that's the part that I'm kind of, intrigued in, actually, is hearing that and hearing that that's kind of the effort and, what people are intending to do. And then, seeing how it's actually going to play out and how, what duchies and counties and, things like that are going to be the ones that are the stinkers among things. And they want to be bold and ambitious. And eventually, it's like, no, I don't want to just work with everyone else. That sucks. Let's take them all over. So that'll be fun. Yes, yeah. Plans are great until the boots hit the dirt. Exactly, DX Plates.
Yeah,
Thank you. Well said.
Good for them if that's possible, but I don't think it's probable.
Well, best luck to them. You're not going to be able to do it without trying to plan. But I just say, MMOs and plans and stuff. It only works up to the extent that there's a small. If everything's done right, there's a small portion of the community that's making these plans and attempting to enact them, and then through marketing efforts and launch hype and influencers and everything else, there's a massive community of people that don't give a damn about all the prior politics. And they're the ones that I think are going to be in the large numbers, and it's going to be trying to sway them one way or the other, or them coming in and be like, yeah, I'm an influencer and I've been playing, some PvP MMO for years and years. I'm just going to gather up 100 of my mates and we're just going to start smashing heads.
Well, that's a good point. Like who decides to be the first, like, live stream, go kill a king? Seriously. I mean, somebody will want to do that. I mean, we know somebody will want to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But we'd have to see. Yeah, we'd have to see how much protection, and again, how much the other kingdoms come together to prevent that, or protect the air, or all kinds of stuff. So that could be interesting. But the author of the Gashkia article says that they expect Angelica to blow up at the kingdom level. They're waiting to see the mushroom cloud. They think that's going to be the most contentious of the servers. So that's kind of fascinating.
Are you breaking up?
Yeah.
Am I?
Yeah.
So what did you
for a second. Maybe the last 2 or 3 sentences we didn't hear.
Oh, I was saying Angelica, the author of the Gashkia article, says they expect Angelica to blow up, and they're waiting to see the mushroom cloud at the kingdom level. They're saying. So,
exposition's going to be interesting. I mean, just in general, I think that's the thing that people also need to keep in mind, is that a lot of stuff is going to be going, just bonkers during exposition. People, trying to make power grabs and all this sort of stuff. It should be really interesting to see. And then by the end of that, then I think we'll have a bit better idea of what things are going to be looking like overall for the long haul for the game. but at launch day, and then potentially things going forward. But then again, I could be wrong. I don't know how the marketing hype train push around exposition, and if they don't hit it as hard as they plan to for actual launch day, then it could be that all of the extra people that come in during launch day basically make for a second wave of exposition like upheaval, and then it's after that, it's maybe like 6 months to a year into the game that things really start to settle down, and borders become more permanent, etc.
I mean, I don't know that we'll see a lot of technical stuff in this part. I feel like for the most, even with map voting, everyone tends to kind of get along, and I assume that will happen here as well. Maybe within the kingdoms there'll be some bickering about which counts get what and which dukes get what, but I would anticipate especially since there's still nothing to really get into and play. Like, now's probably not the best time to alienate yourself. It will be when we actually get in, and the people that were upset at this part but didn't let on until then. That's when I would expect some sort of.
Yep. And then even more is going to be what happens outside the original kingdoms. Like, even if they do manage to establish peace on the original land, we know that there's going to be land beyond that in the world. And so is it going to be, we'll have peace on the motherland here, but then outside it's going to be a free for all? Or are they going to try to discover and then designate who gets what based on relationships of the NPC races discovered in those areas, etc.? Should be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also going to be interested. I'm reading in chat about if there's no kingdom scale conflict, then cooperation deals will only last so long, and we need that kind of conflict. But I think conflict should be coming from different regions and different how we react to diseases and illness creeping in, and what the NPCs want, what the gods want, versus how different players react, different kingdoms and all that stuff react, dukies and all that react to just what's naturally happening within the world. That's going to also push alliances and break alliances, I think. But Phantom, so your account?
Yes.
But you don't seem to care too much about where you are or where you're starting. What you're choosing for domain selection.
When it gets time to do it, I will. I'm not too worried about it right now. I'm on a pecking order anyways, right? There's not a whole lot I can do right now. I mean, the king will pick the king. All that will fall down to me. I'm third to go, I think. And then even then, it's based on. Is it on IP? It's based on another order as well within the counts. So, I mean, it'll just come time to pick, and whatever looks the best, I'll pick. And I mean, I will of course want to be some sort of farming land, but I'm pretty easy. I'm not too
yeah.
Too
So
about
there's resources that you'll probably be looking for on the map that will help you with your farming. Is that the idea?
Yeah, I mean, just an area that will be easy to do that. Obviously a mountainous area probably wouldn't work or something like that. But I mean, even if that's what I end up with, then fine. I don't know. Maybe I'll ditch the idea of being a farmer and I'll just try to disrupt everything I can.
I think it sounds like all of this might be disrupting things.
I did not say that. But.
Yeah. You want to keep your county for as long as you can.
I'm just excited to go through the process and finally get into some sort of world to play in. We'll figure it out from there. Like I said, going forward, everything will change with time anyways. So, I mean, why dwell? I mean, I guess I could see why, people that have a lot of grand schemes would get kind of wrapped up in where they're going to be. But, ultimately, that might not last very long. So, I mean, when it comes time, I'll pick whatever's best available for what I want and See what happens.
Okay. So there should be mayors below you,
Correct.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are you interfacing with any of those possible people?
Do you think I am?
I think you're not.
You know me.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it's just it's. I mean, I we've talked about it before. I mean, I'm amazed at how much people are involved. I mean, it's really pretty cool how much thought and I'm not, you know.
Yeah.
In my head, it's still so far away. I don't know, until I'm actually in experiencing something. It's hard to get really too wrapped up into it. But this brings a step closer. So that I mean, that's why this part's sort of exciting, because you do finally get to know what you're going to be working with, even if you're not actually there yet. So.
Right. Well, and so we should actually think about that, though, in terms of future shows. One, I was thinking we might want to try and do some kind of, even if it's just a quick 10-minute weekly wrap up during domain selection, just so we can, comment briefly on how the week has settled. But it might be interesting. We've tried to have Dukes. We've had some Dukes on with us before. Once we see who's beneath you as a mayor or a baron, we might want to see if we can have one of those people on. That might be fun.
Yeah, anybody that wants to join.
Yeah.
The main thing is, though, would be more talking about the game and the systems, not promoting your place. That's we're here to talk about the game.
That is true.
Yeah. Well, I'm also interested in knowing why people are interested in playing and what they hope to do. So.
Well, right. Yeah, for sure.
But, yeah, so I was looking at the concept map, which, I thought was kind of cute. Just the legend of the key for it was looked pretty cute to me, and we can see where castles are, maybe, and actually even some of the resources like waterfalls and stuff like that was kind of interesting for that concept map. So that seems like it could be a lot of fun too, and even again to look at the other servers. I mean, we're on Angelica, but even looking at Luna or Oceanus could be fun to see how those develop too. So, So you liked the layered architecture, Nero, but that's not where you're necessarily hoping to start. Where would you do you know what tribe you would hope to start with?
Honestly, I'm keeping my options open, but I'm probably gonna err towards the side of somebody who can go to all the various different biomes and not really be impeded by one or the other. So. Avoiding things like the wet lung or dry lung, stuff like that. I think I get a couple of options in that range. But obviously for somebody that's travel oriented, I don't want to be impaired by going to one zone or the other, because I plan to get around.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking I want to be a Weird, but I'm not expecting to start in a Weird territory.
Okay.
Because
Why?
I think what's the name of where we are? Saphondria?
The Sanctifondry?
Sanctifondry. I'm expecting I'll start wherever they start, and then I'll have an alt, of course, for our area, Theoryforge. So yeah, I think I'll just be away from home for Sanctifandry. But yeah.
Oh, here we go. Did you just see that question?
I did not see the question. What aspects seem tedious compared to your fave MMOs? It seems to be too. All of the systems seem to be too detailed and complex and not fun.
Too
When
much
I read,
veracity, not enough verisimilitude.
yeah, when I read about them, I'm like, oh, that just seems like it's. I mean, it's kind of interesting that it's going to be that complex, but not fun. Like I don't. When you get into the details of the crafting, I don't know that. I mean, I want to play at crafting. I don't actually want to work at crafting. So I think there was one thing that I read about, the environment being so changing so much throughout the day that you might need to change outfits 2 or 3 times in a day. And I'm like, I, I don't think I want to do that. Like, it's kind of cool that the environment is that flexible or fluctuates to that degree, but I don't know that I want to have to think about changing my outfit.
You start the day with
And
your
I love
jacket
fashion.
on.
I love fashion, but I don't know that I want to be changing.
You start the day with your jacket on, and then as it starts to get warmer, you take the jacket off. As it starts to get much warmer, you just pull the tearaway pants off, and you just got your shorts on, and then I guess
I love taking stuff off. I don't know if I want to have to put stuff back on. But even for RPGs, and it's interesting again because this question says compared to your fave MMOs, and it's really the RPG that I'm interested in, and this isn't necessarily even an RPG. It's a meow. The crazy thing about this, as I've said before, though, is that I was very inspired by the game design of Revival, and I would expect that to be the same for Chronicles of Elyria because they have a lot of similarities, especially the lead game designer. But for some reason, this one has not captivated me yet. But I think some of that is, we started with the map of Castle Rock, and I could see where I would like to go on that map, and that was very inspirational for me. Again, I'm an explorer first, and so it could be that a big part of the problem here is that I haven't been able to see a map. Yeah, Crowns Rock. We haven't been able to see the map, so maybe once I get a better feel of the map, I will feel better or be more inspired, have a better idea of where I'd like to go, where I'd like to visit, what I'd like to do. Yeah, so I think that's that. But what else? I had another question. I had another question, I think, but I don't remember what that was.
I mean, for me, details. So detail is a good thing as long as it's fun.
Yeah.
They're now it's sort of been put on hiatus because it was developed by one person. But Novus Inceptio was not really even an RPG. It was in early access, planned to be an MMO, but it had a lot of detail in crafting. So quality mattered the whole way through your process of basic starting materials all the way up to the end sword or whatever. For me, that was fun. That was interesting because there's a lot of. I'm the type of person that will take out a pad of paper still and like kind of write down, plan out what I'm going to do. So for me, that was fun, but maybe not for everyone.
Yeah, so Snipe is saying that there are some exceptions, but even as one of the weird, you could deal with the cold at night in other ways, like with fires, or deal with the warmth of the day by staying inside more often, bringing more water. I don't know that I want to do that. That doesn't sound like fun. Like, it sounds realistic, but I don't know that I want my gameplay to be that realistic. So it depends on how easy it is to start a fire. I, I'm an explorer, so I don't know that well, and I don't like survival games. So you know, I don't think that I'm gonna want to have to think about staying inside to keep warm. Since I'm an explorer, I'm not gonna want to stop exploring. Um, I like the fact that in EQ and in WoW, especially in WoW, I would spend hours just swimming around the continent so I could uh, reveal the fog of war, um, unveil the fog of war. I don't know that I want the game to be so realistic that I have to take a break or I have to eat, um, or have to go inside, or you know, have to worry about too much about drowning while I'm swimming around the continent. If I were able to swim around the continent, so we'll just
Well,
see.
I don't think it's going to be like WoW, where you're going to be able to Upper Island. But
Yeah.
you know, I do hope that there's going to be some amount of things that are automated, or but there's just very light cues that you just single button response to deal with. So if I have food on me and I have water on me and I haven't, you know, taken any specific action except say maybe walking for the past 5 minutes, it could be assumed that while the character didn't show the animations of eating and drinking, that it's, you know, they had opportunity to eat and drink, they did so, you know, just you don't have to actually show that part. I feel like showing somebody eating, actually like eating a meal, doing a formal sort of thing, is probably more of a role playing sort of thing. And to that point, if you're in a dining hall at a fancy event, you're probably not worried too much about your personal comfort, because the conditions are going to be set to be something comfortable. It's, you know, it's meant to be a special event of sorts. So your focus is going to be on different things, and then, you know, taking your time to eat the food and analyze it and that sort of stuff would, you know, actually make sense. But if I'm just traveling along the road or whatever, if I'm not like actively writing notes, you know, or drawing, you know, parts of a map or something while I'm walking, I would imagine my character's just like snacking on trail mix and taking a swig of water here and there as they go along. And if that was the sort of thing that was, you know, either visually or not even visually demonstrated, it's just automated, that you don't have to reach for the food. You don't have to. It's like you don't have to go over and, you know, take a dump on the side of the road or anything. Just you stick to the parts of the game that are day, and you don't go to the, you know, just life simulator parts of things necessarily as much. But, you know, that's just my personal opinion on things. I have no idea. Like, what's well, we've got Snipe here. Like, what do you think about this? Is it going to be something where you're going to have to spend a lot of time really worrying about your comfort and all that sort of stuff, or is it just going to be, you know, geez, you're getting kind of cold. Press X to put your jacket on. You know, that's kind of what I'm wondering. Is it going to be on a simplified side of things, or is it going to be more like playing Ark, for example, where you just have a bunch of metrics for everything, and everything that you're doing is constantly depleting them or replenishing them. And it's just got to be this whole constant balance while you're doing everything else.
Well,
that, I gotta say, is a little annoying.
To take that sort of a step further, as far as detail, you know, are there going to be a need? So if Diggs is an explorer, he wants to go spend quite a bit of time exploring someday. Like, is there going to be someone that's able to read the climate, or not the climate, but the weather that he needs to go see first? You know, so you know, well, it's colder in a certain area. I don't know how detailed that would be, but
yeah, one of the other issues for me, just in the general philosophy, is that because I'm a RPG player primarily, so it's more about the RPG for me than the MMO. And when I play RPGs, I play them because I want to have a virtual experience of the life of a novel, of a fantasy novel. And typically the protagonist in a fantasy novel, and typically the protagonists survive for at least the end of the book, and often for the end of trilogies. So I prefer to have to live the story of one character versus that character dying relatively quickly. So that may be another aspect that's more complex for COE than I would prefer. But we'll have to see that too. I mean, at this point, it's really a matter of feel. Like, I have to play and know what it feels like.
And Snipe just mentioned, it's, I guess, a good point. You know, if you're primarily an explorer, you know, you'll have to be mindful of certain complexities, but not others. So the tedious nature of crafting per se, you won't necessarily have to get wrapped up in, because as an explorer, you probably won't be. You know, you'll obviously be getting that from someone else, the stuff you need, the whatnot.
Well, and that's another problem, because that someone else would probably need to be NPCs versus players.
Well, you can't be at all, and you got to interact with someone. So,
well, players are generally too greedy for me, so I try to avoid player economy at all costs.
No, make a deal and then stab them in the back. Take it all.
But yeah, it's just something that I'll have to play and get a good feel of. So.
Yeah, the only thing I wonder about, as far as, you know, when we talk about detail, and I don't know which way this will go. You know, when we talk about sort of more classical MMORPGs versus the Meows, it's, you know, everyone you're given a goal, right? That you're, from the start, you're given a series of goals created by the developers. And in this instance, you are sort of making your own goals, or I guess whatever your kingdom is setting for you. So I don't know how that would change, as far as if something is very complex. Like, does that make it more fun? And that's just sort of a question I don't know an answer to. If you had a series of goals that were laid out for you that was complex, would that make it easier to follow versus your own? I don't know that there's an answer to that, but
yeah, I don't know that I would categorize RPGs as having goals that are set out for you. But well, I mean, one of the things that's nice about Meows, instead of the MMORPGs that we've been playing before, is that is the aspect of the players getting to build their cities. And I have a feeling that roots you into the game in a different way, because if you have invested in building up a city or a village or a settlement or whatever, I think you're going to care enough to want to defend it and not want to lose it. So where you have a world where the players are building the cities, building the villages, and if you don't protect it, it can be destroyed, that's an automatic story. That's an automatic goal. You automatically have goals in some sense, because you need resources in order to sustain where you're living. And you should have to go gathering resources in order to maintain your profession or whatever. So that's kind of the beauty of the Meow versus what we've had with the static MMORPGs that have been typical. But again, if that gets to be too tedious and complex, then that's again kind of my worry.
All right. Well, This is supposed to be a show about domain selection. We've kind of gone on a tangent a little bit.
I'm not sure though, because that still goes back to resources and why we're going to be choosing specific areas. I mean, that's what we're looking for. So I think where we're at the moment, the three of us are kind of like we're going to have to get more details from the map, and as more details about the map start opening up, we will each have more to say about what we find interesting about those domains and those settlements.
Yeah, we kind of, I guess for anyone that joined later, the stream was really late in starting, so we kind of really I don't want to say quickly, but we actually did talk about what we're supposed to.
Yeah.
We kind of went on a tangent. We're actually over what we normally would go, but because of my fault, well.
Do we still have Vi in with us in chat? We've got Snipe. I'm wondering what they're looking forward to seeing with domain selection. What are they eager to see the players do?
Well, I know on Twitter at least, there was sort of this. I don't know if it's an expectation, but sort of, the political, will everyone go to say what or do what they said they would do? Sort of what will be the intrigue in this part. I still think it's a very bad time to kind of start breaking through what you said you would do, because we still don't know how long it will be. Well, I don't know. Map voting went pretty well, so I guess that's really the only thing we have to compare it to, kind of as a group, as a server. Like, did everyone do what they said they would? I just don't see I don't know.
So yeah, I think that should be fun, because kind of like with the map selection. Was it Luna or Oceanus where originally they said they were all in agreement with one specific map, and then when it got time to vote, one block was like, no.
Well, there was one block that had not enough votes to actually do anything. So I mean,
right, but it was just, but still, people were
upset
that they.
But I mean, that's a dumb move. If you don't have if you don't have majority, why would you even bother doing that? And I take the same stance here, right? If you're gonna, I mean, why? I don't know. We'll see what people do, but why would you? I don't know. Why would you put yourself out there if you don't have the people behind you to do it?
Yeah,
maybe there'll be some. I mean, we had fun with the map voting. I mean, all of the intrigue and all the stuff that came from that was great. That's what I have fun watching. What? Huh?
Yeah, Snipe Hunter says this is the moment where we learn who the heroes and villains of the political scene might actually be. Which is, I don't see how or why, but that's fascinating. That would be fascinating if we could actually see that.
Well, and yeah. I wonder how much of it will come internally, right? Because at the very first level, you're going to have your kingdom selected. So assume you're going to have less input, I guess, at that level, right? Fewer people to decide. To me, I wonder when it comes within the kingdoms, and when you start breaking down into smaller and smaller pieces, the dukes and the counts and the mayors that are supposed to be within one group, like how devious does that part get? I don't know. I still think it's a terrible time to do it, but hey, I'll follow along. We'll go with the drama. That's fine. We're gonna cover this for the next 4 weeks once it starts. So let's share some stories. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, it's part of the dance of dynasties to roll out the BS and see who buys it. That could be fun. And players are ramping that up since everyone is antsy. Huh. Strategies will become apparent, Snipe says.
Well, yeah, you would. I would think.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime someone has to make a choice, you're going to start to learn a little bit more about them, right? So,
Yeah.
And maybe it won't mean anything because who there were people that were upset with map voting. I don't know that matters right now. I mean, it's been how long has it been now? It's time heals all wounds. So
here's the question I have for people who are wondering about, like, the idea of people just buying their way into enough influence to get a jump on somebody else. For one, at what level is that actually going to matter? Maybe at the kingdom, maybe at the duchy. I don't think it's going to matter below that, because there's a lot of options for where people can end up. I honestly think that it's kind of fine. If it was a pay-to-play, it's already a pay-to-play system. So in terms of coming in with the title and influence and being able to have a choice. So as far as I'm concerned, there's no difference between buying your way up and having a chance to act before somebody else right now versus if you had spent all the money ahead of time, potentially when there were even better deals, and already been ahead of the person anyway. It's just kind of a funny thing because money's up, but it's money on the line for something that's going to be starting in a preparatory phase. Again, this is to lead into exposition. This isn't even the live launch of the game, so I have a hard time really, worrying too much about anything that goes on in this phase.
But what's great about this game? If you didn't get the map you wanted, if we get here, you don't get the area of land that you want. You don't get what you want. Once we actually start playing, you can just go take what you want.
Yep, that's true. Or you could do some sort of a deal to try to do swapsies with somebody who does have something in a place you want, and you've got something in the place they want. I don't know. It's doesn't seem like an easy sort of thing necessarily to do, but at the same time, who says that anybody's actually going to hold on to the thing that they spent all that time and effort making sure they were first on? Like if you one-upped a bunch of people to get a specific place that they wanted, and they all know that they wanted, that as part of their cluster, why wouldn't they just attack you? Why wouldn't they just take your land over? Honestly, if you poke the bees, they're going to come sting you.
See, part of why I think I'm so reserved about all this. So anyone that's followed us or knows our stream, really none of us are big PvPers. I'm certainly not. Neuro will get in there. Yeah, Neuro would be.
It depends on the game.
Out of the three of us, you would be probably more than you would be more than us. So I'm not a big PvPer. I've already resigned. I already know that at some point I'm going to lose something. That will happen. So I think that's why I'm kind of chill about all this. I already know that conflict's going to happen, and I'm probably going to end up on the wrong side at some point, and that's okay, as long as it's fun. So that's sort of why I'm like, whatever, if you put me up on the rockiest hilltop there is, I'll have fun with it. I'll just come steal all your shit. So. I mean, I've always said Eve is always one, it's that produces, it's a game that has produced some of the coolest player stories that there is. I just can't get into that game. It's just, I'm not a space person. I'm not, that's just not what I enjoy. I would love to have this sort of what we have brewing here that produces those same sorts of stories. So,
I mean, I don't play Eve for the same reason I wouldn't play a StarCraft MMO. One standard basic grunt in a large battle of actual just normal StarCraft. Like that doesn't sound like fun. That's basically what Eve felt like to me, was just being one unit in an RTS, and you don't even matter that much. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of why I stopped playing that. But Yeah, I mean, it's what we're looking at here is definitely to the Eve-like level of immersive gameplay. In fact, even more so because in Eve you couldn't actually take over the high security areas; they were basically locked down. I don't believe you could ever own those ones. They were going to be owned by the corporations that own them by default when the game started. Maybe there are some changes to that over time, but I don't really think so. So to that extent, there are areas of that game world that are locked. There's nothing in Illyria that's going to be locked. There's no place that can't be taken over by someone else. And so to that extent, if those who enterprise in combat and take over an expansion do end up on one of the servers, I would expect that server is going to have a lot more upheaval and a lot more people losing their place and then somebody else coming over and taking the place back, in the name of a different group or whatever, as the supply line of the larger group that's on their warpath becomes too thin, that you're able to finally take it back. But I could be wrong. We'll see. Maybe nobody's actually got the will to build up an army of that magnitude and just go out claiming things and expanding their empire.
Yeah, I going back to the complexities thing that Diggs was talking about. We before that talked about an influencer or a streamer comes in and brings a big community with them, and they just tear through everything. I guess one of the benefits of being so complex is that you're really not going to be able to do that, right? You're not going to be able to one day have somebody that has 10,000 viewers put together a group and just come in and take everything. That just won't happen. Just time wise, it couldn't happen unless they have someone that's already been preparing for that for quite some time beforehand, very secretly.
I see what you're saying. There's no equivalent of a mothership jumping in the wrong sector and
it's not like
$100,000 of IRL.
Yeah, it's not like you can have somebody spend a week grinding an area of an MMO so that they can get enough stuff that they can then equip 100 people, right? You have to. It's going to take time. It's going to take resources. So you're not going to be able to have someone just one day pop in and say, let's go take over a kingdom. That just won't be able to happen unless you have some other kingdom or something else that's helping you along.
And because which could of the happen, physical right? nature, because of the physical nature of everything, spies would also be able to see that you've got catapults that you're building at this woodshed out in the backwoods or whatever, where nobody's actually going, and be able to see, these guys are planning for some sort of giant siege. Like, they aren't just going to have a tarp over them and they're automatically hidden or anything like that. They're interactable objects in the world. For all you know, you're going to go out with those catapults and put stones in them, and when you first fire them, they all snap in half because a spy came through and poured acid that weakened the wood in the middle. That's what I'm kind of excited for too, is that level of spycraft actually mattering, that your Elyria James Bonds and such will actually be a viable and rather interesting way to play.
And there's a good comment in chat about, it would only take really one duke to quietly sort of build up this military surplus. So it makes you wonder, right? Could they, could you go out and say, hey, something for your channel, you got a big channel, let's do something together. I'm a duke, I have access to things, let's quietly do something. And in 3 weeks, you're just going to go live, and we're just going to do whatever we want to do. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, with the OPC stuff, you just need to rally the people and have them, set on autopilot to build the war machine.
Yeah. Like with Game of Thrones coming up, like Battle of the Bastards, and who was the group that came in at the end? Like, who's going to be? What was the name? Oh, the Knights of the Vale. Like, who's going to come over? You got a duke that, we're going to crush that duke just fine. And they've actually had a group of people quietly come in with them. It's just a lot of. There's just a lot of possibilities. That's what's kind of cool.
So the challenge for Snipe, I'm throwing down a gauntlet. He will know that I'm hooked once I start having alts that number in rival of revival. And I'm saying that because I'm looking at the list of commodities that settlements are founded on, and it says freshwater, coastal access, fish, game, farmland, wood, stone, clay, sand, mineral deposits, trade routes, high ground. And I'm disappointed because what I really want to know on the map for my Dross alt is where the disease is. Because I think I want my Dross to be helping either intentionally or unintentionally spreading disease. So I want to know the best places to do that.
That kind of broke up a little.
That broke up a little?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking on the map for diseases. Where can I spread disease as a Dross, intentionally or unintentionally? And it looks like that's not going to be on the map, but that's a bit disappointing for my Dross character, but we'll see. So it may be that as more information
couldn't you wherever you
comes
want?
in, huh?
I mean, couldn't you wherever you want?
There
Spread
should be
disease.
locations on the map
Why?
that are highly diseased.
Yeah, but I mean, you said spread. I mean, I guess.
Well, because Dross don't care about.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just saying.
Or they don't notice
should
the
it?
disease.
But I'm just saying, should it? I mean, doesn't really matter on a map, right? It's basically wherever Dross aren't.
No.
You go, you can spread disease.
No, because I want like there should be.
But that's how disease works.
But there should be biomes. Well, I'm expecting the Dross develop the immunity because they grew up in these areas where there was high disease. So there should be other animals in that area that help do that. So if I have pets that are poisonous, all that kind of stuff, that's the stuff that I'm interested in. I want to know the places on the map that are where toxins are prevalent.
Are you going to try to find a legendary neurotoxin?
Indeed.
And then he's going to sell it to you.
Yeah, but that's, I wonder how much of it's going to be finding it out in nature, how much of it's going to be finding it in a lab, or how much of it's going to be a combination of the two, or just scouring hospitals and clinics and stuff and swabbing sick people.
Yeah, Snap says the diseases exist in the world and they're not evenly distributed, which makes sense. I mean, they wouldn't be. Yeah, so you'll have to go where they are to catch them. And then you can spread them all you want, Diggs.
Be able to see volcanoes on the map? That is a good question. I honestly, for the sake of Kipix, would like to see like a map of geothermal activity so they know where they'd be able to set up a like a geothermal generator sort of thing. But I don't know what sort of detail we're going to get. So, I mean, it's one of those things where if we were able to see the whole map from a pullback view, I have to imagine the world building team knows approximately where the tectonic plates and where the mid-ocean rifts and all that stuff is going on. So, based on that, it's wherever it's, spreading out and along that landmass would be your ring of fire or whatever, where you're going to see most of the volcanic activity.
Well, we have made up for the 30 minutes that I made us lose. So,
yeah.
Any final thoughts? Anybody in chat with
a couple more
questions?
things on domain and server selection that are kind of interesting to me is the I'm just gonna scroll down to the where was it, the part where it talks about resources and professions. That to me is really interesting as kind of like just a rough idea of what you might want to try to do in some of those areas, because ultimately I have no idea how accessible anything somebody wants to try to do in any specific area is going to be. And even if you've got the right combination to do the thing you want to do, it might not go the way you want. You might have gone to an area that focuses on metallurgy because you wanted to be able to make the best and strongest materials, and instead you go there and find that their focus is making the fastest and easiest to work with materials like your wrought irons and stuff, just to get them out the door, and so they can get more things made more rapidly, and things that are potentially even easier to repair than something that's, fully, super strong and tempered, but if it breaks, then, you get a much harder time trying to repair or replace it. So yeah, I could see that sort of thing being an interesting sort of thing. I think that's where the culture and the community of each area is going to be kind of an interesting factor. And they even talk about that, talking about the customs and some of the different aspects of things. So I guess that's one of those things where I hope we get enough information to kind of know not just what goes on in an area that we're going to be starting in, but really knowing what the actual culture is of that area, knowing what the actual
we'll know culture. We'll know culture from the tribes, what tribes are in what area.
But even specifically, like how they put an emphasis on the different things, what they've actually gotten a chance to emphasize and focus on, etc.
Yeah, and Snipe was saying that some of the stuff will be on the map, and as I'm looking at the concept map again, I do see Badlands, Bog, and Swamp. So I would guess that my Dross, if he's looking for diseased areas, might want to, hang out in the Badlands or Bog and Swamp, something like that. Okay.
Yeah. Sweet. But it's I still feel like at the end of the day, it's almost not going to matter who ends up where. I still go back to the idea that they are doing us a favor by letting us choose the server, like choose the world that our server is going to be, by letting us, through payment and influence and otherwise, choose where the major kingdoms and the various different places are going to start. We don't see that in almost any MMO. It's the fact that they're doing it alone is really amazing, instead of it being something where, say, everything starts neutral and run by NPCs and you have to work your way into getting people into positions of leadership. I feel like that's kind of a slower way of things, and people don't really get a chance to really have the agency over their areas in the same way until you actually do have people doing that. And, that's kind of lame. I'd rather have like this model where people are actually calling the shots and stuff from the start. But at the same time, I can see how someone would feel like their Cheerios have been urinated in and upon by spending all the time and effort and resources trying to get a specific spot, thinking it's going to matter, and trying to do all this stuff and all this planning and none of it happening, and just being, completely soured by the process. I feel like that's one of the unfortunate things, and it's one of those things where I really hope that everybody stays positive, that, we're still witnessing MMO history here. We've got the other show that we do. We've got a couple other games on the horizon. The Meow, the next evolution of the MMO. It needs to happen, and it needs to be good, and we need to really just meet it with enthusiasm. So even if things don't play out the way that you want, by the time exposition starts, don't worry about it. The game's still going to be really fun. It's going to be amazing, and it's probably not actually going to matter that much who ends up where and who ends up doing what at the start of things, to be perfectly honest. People are going to have things happen. People come and go. things happen in life. You don't have the time to play. You didn't have as much time as you thought you did to play, and so you end up having to pass the sticks over to somebody else just because you don't have the time to run this kingdom or whatever. Things happen. It's fine. It'll be a fun game. We just got to make sure we, come at it with a positive attitude and, not look at any of what they're doing as trying to slight us or rip us off or anything like that. It's, they're trying their best to make something new here, and we're along for the ride. Some people are more invested than others, and I understand how some people might be rubbed the wrong way if they put a lot of their own, a large portion of what they personally, own. If you don't, I don't know, I make, however much I make a year. If I was spending like 10% of that on a game, I'd be pretty pissed off if if the things didn't go necessarily how I wanted to. But at the same time, it's a pay-to-play sort of thing where they've told us from the beginning, nothing's guaranteed. We hope we're going to release the game, and we hope that's guaranteed, and so far it looks like that's going to happen. But then beyond that, nothing's really guaranteed, and everything's been kind of like, it's been an interesting experience and an interesting experiment to see how it's gotten to where it's gotten, and even to see what the things are that people actually want to focus on and stress about with things. And yeah, when money is involved, that definitely changes things, and we're not coming from a company that's getting, AAA $40 million to make this project. So obviously they have to make up their money in funny ways. And, it's acceptable. It's sometimes regrettable that's the state of things with the game industry, but that's part of the problem. Meows are still unproven. That's why, again, we are part of history here. This is where it's at. We're going to see MMOs change going forward, so long as this one and a couple other Soul games that are in progress actually do the thing, and they actually launch, and they're actually successful, and they prove that it's a viable model forward. So that's my rant. Thank you, everybody.
Hero got in a rant, which is awesome. And I'm not sure that I think that it's going to be fun, but I'm supporting monetarily anyway, because I think I want I want the devs working on these type of systems, even if it's vaporware. I still want to support the devs working on the system, so that if it's not this game, it's some other game in the future that these devs are getting their ideas out on, because the ideas for the most part are what we need, like this type of domain selection, somehow players being involved in creating these cities instead of it all be just dev created and we come in and occupy what's already been built. I think that, again, is going to invest us in wanting to maintain what we've built.
And I guess my last thing to build on Neuro's rant is that players need to learn to be flexible. This is going to be an ever-changing game. What you expect right now, just even if you get everything perfectly as you want it right now, I guarantee once we get through exposition and we're live with the game, things are going to change. So you just have to learn to be flexible. That's just going to happen. I highly doubt and actually this is my final question for you guys for tonight, and it's sort of a little off topic. Do you think through the life of the game, let's say this game is released and lasts 10 years, do you think there'll be one kingdom that is able to persist from day one till server close? My guess is no.
The same kingdom.
Well, let me say
but the leadership will change.
That is actually, yes, that is what I meant more than kingdom.
The borders may not change or collapse or be usurped by another, completely different force. But I imagine, the leadership is going to change hands probably more than we would expect. I would imagine at least twice for every real world year. Yeah. So, at least one, if not more, kingdoms is going to have an upheaval of some kind.
Yeah. So my point is, learn to be flexible. Learn to have fun with what you have. This has the potential to be very, very cool. So just ride with it. So. Yep. All right. Well, again, guys, I apologize for the 30-minute delay. Diggs, did you have something else that you?
No, that's good.
Yeah. I will try to make sure that does not happen next time, but I can't guarantee it. We will be back next week. For anyone who doesn't watch us regularly, we alternate between Chronicles of Elyria and Ashes of Creation. So next week, I believe, will be an Ashes show. Once we actually do get into Domain and Settlement, we'll probably try to be... We'll see how things go, but we'll try to, even if we can, be weekly with something through that process. We did that with map voting. We stayed pretty regularly throughout the process. So, and we are on every Friday, usually at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. So with that being said, everyone have a great weekend. Thank you for joining us. And again, sorry for the delay, but I'm glad you all came and watched us once we got live. So have a good weekend.
See you later, everybody. Have a good one. Thanks for coming.